If you're like me and you love using bows in Destiny, especially in endgame content such as Grandmasters, then this build is exactly for you, because we are going to be taking Tikus from hitting for 5000 damage all the way to 32 or 42,000 damage if you also include the explosion. All of this in Grandmasters. That is almost a 500% damage increase, and all it requires you to do is to simply shoot the bow. It doesn't get any easier. For comparison, Cataclysmic, which is easily considered one of the best linears in the entire game, hits for 26,000, or with bait and switch procced, for 37,000. I have been spamming this build in the most recent Grandmaster the Hypernet, and it simply melts everything. We are going to achieve this kind of damage thanks to Oathkeepers, which got updated in Season 21 to now provide a damage increase to bows depending on how long you hold them charged. You can see this damage increase on the left side of your screen. Each bar is a 37.5 damage increase and 0.5 seconds of time, for a total of 150% if you hold it for 2 seconds. Do keep in mind that this damage increase only affects the arrow itself, not the explosion effect. So the real question is, how often are you actually going to be proccing Oathkeepers in, let's say, a Grandmaster? Well, for that exact purpose, I went over the footage from the Grandmaster and counted each time I shot the bow to see how much of a damage boost I actually ended up getting. It turns out that I shot Tikus a total of 317 times, of which 174 took advantage of the Oathkeeper's damage boost. That is over 50% of my shots, of which 67 were tier 1, 44 tier 2, 25 tier 3, and 38 shots were tier 4 for that 150% damage boost. However, keep in mind that this GM has a ton of thralls and scions that don't even require fully charging the bow, lowering the usage of Oathkeepers. Another thing to take into account is that the slower you are at aiming, the more you will take advantage of Oathkeepers, meaning that this is a very new player-friendly build. I personally have been aim training on mouse and keyboard for years, which made my aim fast and snappy, therefore taking less advantage of Oathkeepers. You can expect much greater results than I did with this exotic. Also, a little side benefit of using Oathkeepers is that it also secretly provides you with 10 draw time speed, which is the equivalent of a masterwork on any bow. Now that you know exactly how Oathkeeper works, we also need to learn how to use Tikus efficiently, because I still see a ton of people using it wrong. When hip-firing Tikus, you will send out tracking projectiles that apply sacred flames to targets, and the best way to do it is to simply by spamming your hip-fire, because charging it up doesn't actually do anything, so make sure that you're simply tapping your hip-fire. These sacred flames can then be detonated by the arrows that you shoot when aiming your bow. For this second part, it's very important that you fully draw your bow, because if you don't, then you will not activate the catalyst, which basically increases your damage each time you detonate a sacred flame by a fully drawn arrow. This catalyst goes all the way to 100% at 6 stacks, which basically doubles Tikus damage. Talk about a good catalyst. Did you also know that equipping loader mods will result in faster knocking, aka how fast your character reloads your next arrow, which translates to being able to shoot faster. This is an extremely small benefit, but it's free, so there's no reason why you shouldn't equip it whenever you can. Next up, we are going to do a quick breakdown to see how we are going to be obtaining that massive damage boost for our Tikus. We know that a fully charged Oathkeeper is a 150% damage increase. We also know that Tikus Catalyst is a 100% increase. We have Radiant, which is a 25% damage increase, Weapon Surges, which are 22%, and finally Solar Seasonal Surge for another 25% damage increase. The beauty about this build is that you can use it with any subclass of your choice. In this case, I've chosen the Void subclass, which in my opinion is the safest and strongest one when it comes to getting Grandmasters done. It not only allows you to apply a ton of weaken effects to enemies, but it also makes it so you can go invisible for as much as you want and be able to res your teammates when needed. I personally love using my smoke bomb or grenade on champions in combination with Apex Predator because it absolutely melts them. We also can't forget about Devour. This buff will not only keep you alive, but it will also provide you with a ton of grenade energy, which is always nice to have. Now that you fully understand how this build works, we can move on into the aspects, fragments and mods. In the artifact, make sure that you have Kindling Trigger, followed by Film Striker and Rays of Precision. Aspect-wise, we are going to be using Trapper's Ambush with Vanishing Step. For our fragments, we are using Echo of Starvation so we can obtain Devour. We are also using Echo of Persistence so we can increase the duration of our Void buffs, followed by Echo of Obscurity so we can go invisible on finishers. And finally, the last fragment is up to you, this is personal preference. I like to use Echo of Undermining for even more weaken, but you can always use something like Echo of Cessation, or even Echo of Harvest if you want to be making more Orbs of Power. Mod-wise, this is an extremely easy setup. On our helmet, we are using a Solar Siphon with a Heavy Ammo Finder and a Heavy Ammo Scout. On our gloves, we are using a Solar Loader with Font of Focus and Bolstering Detonation. Our chestplate has triple resist mods, like always. Our legs have triple Solar Surges so we can deal as much damage as we can. And lastly, on our cloak, we are using double time dilation with a single copy of Proximity Ward so we can be a bit safer when finishing enemies. Weapon wise, you want to use Ticus because this weapon absolutely slaps this season. And I usually combine it with a second weapon to be able to deal with champions, whether it's a Chill Clip Riptide, a Chill Clip Lingering Dread, or a simple Rufus Fury. For your heavy, simply go for your favorite solar weapon. The way you play this build is quite simple because all you want to do is to simply shoot with Ticus and collect any Orbs of Power that you see. This will proc your Surges and Devour. It is extremely important that you try to get headshots with Ticus because they do so much more damage and are guaranteed to obliterate groups of adds. As a hunter, you can actually be extremely mobile while shooting bows, and that is exactly what I would recommend that you do, because this way you will be harder to hit and automatically survive more often. Spam your super as soon as you get it, unless you know that a boss is coming up and you want to save it for that. Your super easily deals with champions and it can weaken and add clear large areas on the map as well, so don't be afraid to use it quite often. And that is all for today's video. If you have any questions, then ask me anything on my stream or Discord server. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the build and have a wonderful rest of your day.